Hey gang, welcome to Domo. Today I want to talk about how Domo can help the finance organization to better consume and interact with the information coming from your various financial systems. On a page like we're looking at here, I've got data coming out of things like NetSuite and SAP and Concur and QuickBooks. And you'll notice that I've got at my fingertips all the information from those sources pulled together in a single screen. Now we're going to talk about interacting with this information a little bit, but let's talk for a second about how we get this information in to Domo. Domo allows me with a single click to pull information from a variety of different sources, whether I'm talking about something like Microsoft Excel or I'm dealing with things like Salesforce or SAP. Once I connect into those systems, Domo brings that information back and presents it to me in a screen like the one we were looking at here that may be an overall view, or it could be very targeted. For example, I might pull information in from SAP and from Concur, and then combine that with maybe my sales data coming out of something like Salesforce or NetSuite to allow me now to look at profitability, not just revenue and not just cost, but those things combined together. And with Domo, not only do I get access to this information at a high level, but I can very quickly interact with the data and drill in to see more detail sitting behind this. So for example here, I'm now looking at just my profitability within my US West territories. Here on my overview screen, I'm looking at information in reports that others have shared with me. But maybe I want to build my own view of the data. With Domo, I can very quickly get access to the information I need and then view it in a way that makes sense to me. So for example, if I want to pull up some finance information, I can simply start typing that word. I can select the data source that I want, look at the metadata about that to ensure that it is in fact what I want to see, simply select that data, and then build my view. So here, for example, maybe I want to take a look at, I don't know, let's look at expenses, and let's break that out and compare it to our, let's say, gross revenue. And instead of looking at this in a bar chart, let's look at it in a line chart. And instead of looking at it by quarter, I can very quickly select a different granularity, say for example, month. Domo gives me that ability to choose just the data items that I want and view it in a way that makes sense to me. And with a single click, that report's available for me to consume as well as to share with others. Now, Domo allows me to consume the information in a way that makes sense to me. So here, for example, on my overview page, I'm looking at information from a variety of sources, but also other subject areas besides finance. Maybe I want to focus on some of my finance-related metrics, so I could drag one of these over and I could blow it up in more detail so that every time I come in, I see, for example, more detailed view of my cash. I can do this without impacting other users. Each of us can have our own view of the dashboard and yet still get access to the information that we need in a way that makes sense to us. Hence, the dream dashboard right inside of Domo. Now remember, in Domo, we're pulling the information from your various financial systems. We're doing this on a regular basis. Maybe we're pulling in your cash information every 15 minutes or your expense information once a day. Well, because we're doing that, Domo can evaluate that data as it's coming in and then let you know if criteria that matter to you have actually occurred. So here I'm looking at my alert center and I can see 9 alerts that have triggered. These are 9 bells that have rung, if you will. So for example, if I click on this, I can see that my cash has fallen below a certain amount, in this case, $27 million. I can also see here that this has happened more than once in the last 180 days. Now the Alert Center screen is great, but it still requires me to log into Domo. The beauty of evaluating these criteria is that Domo can also send me an email and a text message letting me know, so I don't have to be logged in at all. I can keep my finger on the pulse of the business without being logged into Domo. Once I get one of those alerts, with a single click, I can be taken into that detailed view so that I can start to see, well, what's going on? In this particular case, our cash is down, and it's not just about looking at that high-level number, but being able to explore in detail what's going on to cause that particular spike or dip or anomaly in the data. Now with Domo, it's not just about interacting with the data. It's also about interacting with others in the organization. It's about taking the qualitative information and tying that to the quantitative data. So here, for example, is a discussion going on this cash balance report that we're looking at. And Frank has jumped in and said, guys, take a look at our receivables aging. In fact, he thinks these two things are related. And what's interesting here is that he's guiding me to that thing that he wants me to see by putting a hyperlink right inside Domo Talk itself. Additionally, you'll notice that others have been roped into the conversation with a little @ sign. That allows me to bring others in as necessary to get additional points of view or other insights, so that if it's a bad thing, we can solve the problem more quickly, and if it's a good thing, we can figure out how to replicate it and take advantage of it. So at any point, I could start a new conversation, and by simply clicking here, in this case, Domo's going to broadcast this out to 199 people. I don't want that to happen. I want to talk to Frank privately. So I'm going to say, hey, Frank, let's chat when you get a chance. I have some ideas. And as soon as I click post, Frank's going to get notified. Hey, Chris is talking about you inside of Cash Balance. Here's what he said, and here's a link to the report. But in addition to that, not only can Frank click that link to be taken to the report, he could simply reply to the text or reply to the email and have that conversation show up right here inside of Domo Talk. So the things that we're doing anyway with emails and phone calls and freakout meetings when things like this happen are now captured for posterity and shared with the appropriate people. With Domo, I have access to all the information I have on my desktop right in the palm of my hand with Domo Mobile. I can interact with people and have conversations. In fact, look, Frank's responded to my comment telling me to drop by his office at 3 o'clock. I also get access to all the same metrics and data that I have on my desktop. Here, for example, is that same cash balance that we were looking at earlier. And if it's easier, I can look at the number right behind the graph itself. With Domo, you can have all the information you need to run your finance organization right at your fingertips.